This is quite possibly the most underrated paint color in Benjamin Moore's entire catalog. At least I think so. I think that this awesome mid-tone neutral really needs some attention, and it's called Escarpment CC-518. It was also recently the star of our underrated colors video, and today I'll not only talk about this color, but also 3 other color pairings and 2 trim options that work perfectly with it. Escarpment is also known by the name Willow Creek, and the color codes 1468, AC30, but I know it as CC518. Technically, I would say this color is part of the neutral color palette. It's a slightly warm, earthy gray, but really there's a lot more to it. Something special about this color is its combination of undertones mixing together. Sometimes it looks a little more earthy and warm, but other times it looks cool and almost purple leaning. It has a wonderful duality to it and can sometimes have a strong energy that feels very robust, but also its bit of purple adds some intrigue and elegance. And this means it works really well in a number of different situations. It is a darker color with an LRV of 34.48. And for those of you that don't know, the light reflectance value, which is the percentage of light that escarpment reflects, it's 35%, which is kind of on the lower end for sure, but there's also a whole lot of other darker colors that exist within paint that are used pretty prominently. Kind of like this color on my wall right here. Escarpment can be used in a number of ways, especially inside your home. I would probably put it in secondary color territory, meaning it's not really the first choice that I would think of when I'm just painting an entire home with one color, for example, but at the same time, I honestly would love to see it being used in a hallway because of how interesting it is. Honestly, it'll do really well if you have a decent amount of lighting to support it, so a lot of windows or a ton of overhead lighting or floor lamps. And it is one of those colors that can slowly change and shift throughout the day, meaning even though it's very much neutral feeling, it can also become a toned down, subtle statement as well, which is perfect for those more minimalist or simplified decor and design styles. If you're familiar with other Benjamin Moore colors like Revere Pewter and especially Thunder, Escarpment fits into that mold, but to me, it has more complexity that makes it more rewarding to use. There's not many rooms where I would say escarpment is a no-go. It largely depends on the other aspects of the room to see if it fits, mainly alongside its occasional purple undertone. That's, I guess, where it could sometimes clash a tiny bit, but not always. It really works wonderfully with all of those taupes, those browns, grays, any of the neutrals really, except for maybe some green heavy ones. That'll be very complimentary. But honestly, all you gotta do is just test these colors out before you really commit to them so you can make sure it's working with other colors in the space. But guess what? I already picked other colors that can work with it in the space, so let's get right to it. Segway Baron Plain is the first color pairing, and I like it as a great lighter counterpart to Escarpment. It also has a touch of gray and brown mixed together, which is perfect for the areas that need some brightening up, but still sitting alongside Escarpment. I wouldn't say they're identical colors in terms of their undertones, and obviously Baron Plain being the much lighter color, you won't really have as much depth or richness, but that's a good thing if you're looking for a color lighter, because that's what this color is. White Swan, color code 927. Also, these other 4 color codes. This is an even lighter paint color, more of a true off-white, but it also fits a more complementary role next to Escarpment and Baron Plain. You'll definitely notice the warm, creamy aspect a lot more prominently, and it even has a brighter overall feel. In some cases, this color can even look a touch green leaning, especially next to Escarpment, but then in turn, you might see more of that brown or earthy purple accentuated in those other colors, which I think is a satisfying interaction. Just be aware that it is sort of a complementary relationship, which is a little more charged, a little more polarizing, but it could look really good in the right circumstances. The third color is Willow, which is the dark accent color for Escarpment. I just love how these 2 colors interact with one another. And these 2, they do sort of play in the same family. They're not identical, even in their undertones, but they're neighbors for sure. They both have that muted, stone-like quality. They both have varying degrees of gray and brown, but they seem to be on each end of the spectrum, like a yin and a yang. Willow is definitely much darker and more brown-centric, while Escarpment leans into its gray aspect much more, while still feeling one with nature, if you will. The two together sort of remind me of a wonderful, beautiful rock face, and then you have some awesome big brown cedar trees just draped across that beautiful stone wall. That's how I see it. What about trim colors? For your baseboards, your doors, your frames, all that good stuff. I have a light and a dark option for all of you that will really go well with all of these colors. Cloud cover is the light option, which is very clean. It has a touch of coolness, but it's not overly blue leaning, which I think would be a little problematic in this case. It's very well balanced and suits all of the other colors really, really well. And then for my dark choice, in case you wanted to take things into a darker, more dramatic direction, I love Iron Mountain quite a bit. Just like Escarpment, it's a very earthy, but still gray-centric color, and it has enough of a difference in hue to pop off the similarly dark color Willow. So if you want to see them all together, here is the palette. Let me know what you think. And here's another one right over here. Let's just keep this rolling because there's so many color combinations out there to see.